In this video, I'm going to be showing you how we made over $1 million for a high ticket offer client in less than 6 months. And I'll also be sharing the 3 key things that got this account to actually start working, because this client in particular wasn't seeing any sort of success with paid ads before deciding to work with us. And I think if you employ these 3 key things in your own business, you can also start seeing some serious profits, whether you decide to work with us or not. So a little bit of background. Like I mentioned, this client came to us because they weren't able to make paid ads work for their offer. This client in particular sells a niche B2B offering. Essentially, they're selling consulting package to medical professionals who want to automate their practice, and they're doing this at a very high ticket offering. So here's exactly what we were able to do for the client. Listen, everybody wants to jump into the juicy numbers. Well, so here they are. The client was running a little bit of paid ads, but wasn't seeing success. So on average, they were getting about 40 leads a week. And over the course of 6 months, we bumped that number up to over 115 leads every single week. And more importantly, the client went from getting 0 booked calls for their high ticket offering to getting over 15 a week, which is absolutely incredible for the niche offering that they have. And the best part is we actually didn't increase spend at all. So the money that we were spending in week 1 and week 2 is the same amount of money that we were spending in week 25 and week 30. And this is the crazy part, because basically what this means, all of this performance is due to 100% optimization. There's no real ad spend scaling. Everything we did was through optimization alone. And that's how we were able to take this failing offer on paid ads and reduce the cost per lead by 5 times, and then reduce the cost per book calls and actually start getting booked calls by 5 times as well. Now let's talk about the big change, the ROAS, the return on ad spend. How much money was this client putting in their pocket? When we first started, well, the client wasn't actually making any money, so their ROAS was 0. But we were able to take that 0 ROAS and actually start getting some sales for this high ticket offer. And by the end of 6 months, we were actually able to get a 7x return on ad spend. That's right. So for every $5,000 that we spent every single week, we got about $40,000 in sales, which is absolutely insane. Yes, those numbers and metrics are really impressive, but how did we do it? Well, because the client wasn't profitable on any sort of ad platform before, we decided to use a omnipresent approach. And this was really the first key in this account. So that means we ran traffic on a bunch of different platforms. So things like Google PPC, Facebook ads, as well as YouTube ads. The only thing we didn't do was TikTok ads, and that's because the total addressable market for this offering was rather small. There's only about, say, 50,000 or so of these specific medical professionals in the entirety of the US. And targeting those highly specialized B2B audiences on TikTok really doesn't work. In fact, we even had a hunch that it might be quite difficult to find these specific individuals with YouTube ads as well. But the reason we went with it is because we were able to use the ad data and the learnings from each platform and apply them to other platforms. And to be honest, our hunch was correct. Finding these specific medical professionals was a lot easier on Facebook with Facebook ads and with Google PPC. However, the majority of our results didn't actually come from Google PPC. They came from Facebook ads. And that's because Google PPC, even though is great and delivered a great ROAS, it wasn't very scalable. You can't actually go after people there. So it was all traffic that was coming inward. And that was the reason we decided to focus on Facebook as our primary traffic source. This is the point in the video where I want to point out a very crucial mistake that happens with a lot of people in a lot of accounts. In fact, it also happened in this account. So I want to make sure that you guys are really learning from this. With the first month of running traffic, we actually saw no sales come in on any of the platforms. And this is a mistake that most people do. See, most people would give up here and stop running traffic altogether, even if there's some signs of life. So in our case, we actually saw some signs of life on Facebook itself, where we could actually see that the cost per lead was going down dramatically, and that we were actually starting to book a few calls, and that booked call cost was starting to come down, even though we weren't making any sales whatsoever. So we decided to pursue this opportunity because we saw some signs of life. Even though we saw some signs of life, we knew we had to work a little bit harder to start getting these campaigns and book calls to turn into some sales. So this is where the second key of this account comes in. The second key to making this account work was to dial in our audiences specifically on Facebook. Because we saw signs of life on Facebook, and Facebook is a little bit easier to find these niche B2B audiences, we decided we would need to work extra hard to really dial in those audiences. To start off, what we did was target alumni of certain medical colleges, as well as go after certain medical job titles. And this is what really built our initial audiences. And off of these initial audiences, we took the people that went through the funnels, the ones that actually became leads and started booking calls, and we started making lookalike audiences off of those certain subsects. And this is the real difference maker here. This is the cycle that we employed to start getting better and better data and start making our audiences a lot more stronger. So by the end of it, we only started going after people that we thought were not only highly likely to become leads, but not even just book calls, but also convert as sales. So as time goes on, our audiences got stronger. And this is the real key here. We started to use this cyclical and iterative process to make our audiences a lot stronger. So in the beginning, when we went after generic people, we were able to further refine our audiences by going after people who would then be more likely to turn into leads. And then once we had enough lead data, we then went after people that would be more likely to book calls. And then when we had that data, then we went after people that would be most likely to convert into sales. And this is what really allowed us to get a little bit of traction with the account. Before we continue the video, very quickly, if you are a business owner that wants to see some serious results on YouTube ads, what I recommend is that you go down to the description of this video and book a free strategy call. And who knows, maybe just like this client, you will get to 7 figures in 6 months, but you have to book a call first. All right, back to the video. Now, before I jump into key number 3 and really tell you about the thing that took this account into the stratosphere, I do want to make you aware of yet another challenge that we faced with this particular account, which was, like I mentioned, the client did not want to increase spend. Even though things were going fantastic at this point, we had to stick to the same budget that we were allocated every single week. And this was kind of really due to fulfillment issues. So instead of brute forcing and scaling this account, we actually had to optimize and cut our costs, meaning we had to deliver more sales for the same amount of budget. And we did this by utilizing key number 3, which was to actually go against the grain a little bit with the conventional means of the platform, and then actually use the platform itself to start optimizing and cutting costs. When the client first came to us, they were running evergreen webinars, which if you are a person that's watching this video will probably know that they are very saturated, especially for B2B and niche audiences. The truth of the matter is people are kind of sick and tired of signing up for these fake live webinars, and they don't really convert as well as they did a few years ago. So the first thing we did was actually move away from this webinar funnel and introduce a VSL type funnel. And the results were a little bit better, but they weren't still aligned with what our goals were. Because this was such a specialized niche offer, and the fact that we were running on Facebook, meaning we could run long form ad copy style ads, we actually decided to turn the ad into a long form sales page itself and then send people directly to a Calendly page. And this, like you would imagine, worked really well. Now, is this type of approach going to work for every single offer out there? Probably not. But because this was such a highly specialized offer, we were actually able to screen people through that long form ad copy, as well as ask the right questions on the Calendly page, which meant that the quality of the calls was still there with this type of ad. Now, this is the point where most advertisers and business owners stop. They get to this sort of stage in their ad buying journey, their offer journey, and they see results. Maybe you're getting a 2x to 3x ROAS and you're happy here. However, we at Links Digital, we weren't satisfied with this because we knew there was still meat left on the bone for us. And what we did after finding this approach was to start removing friction points in the funnel itself. We thought to ourselves, why are we sending people to another website after they click on the ad and having people potentially drop out from the funnel? Why don't we just get the prospect's information right on the platform of Facebook itself? And that's exactly what we did. We actually removed Calendly because we thought it was another step added in the customer journey. And we actually started using Facebook's native lead ads with instant forms to grab the information and start booking appointments right on Facebook itself. And this approach really allowed for two things. The first is removing friction from the customer journey / funnel. The second, this being a native Facebook integration, allowed our audiences to get optimized even better. Because people were staying on Facebook, all the data was being collected by Facebook. This allowed Facebook's algorithms and their ad buying platform to make our audiences even stronger. And that is basically how we got to over $1 million with this client in just under 6 months.